News OK's Press Row with the Oklahoman's Barry Tramel and Jenni Carlson is powered by Dunkin' Donuts. America runs on Dunkin'.
I'm Barry Tramel, and maybe my favorite unit on the Thunder is when the B team plays by itself.
That second team unit, pretty good for this Thunder team. Really played well on Wednesday night in Game 2 against the Nuggets. From the Opopco Studios in Oklahoma City, you're watching the Press Row. I'm Jenni Carlson. Press Row is sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts. Barry, that B team, as you term them, that second wave, not so good in Game 1. Really good, though, in Game 2.
Well, I tell you, these are guys that they deserve to have their names mentioned. I'm going to do it. Nick Collison, Eric Maynard, James Harden, Nazr Mohammed, and Daquan Cook. Scott Brooks, down the stretch of this season, has taken to putting those five guys who he mixes and matches throughout the game. The start of the second, usually at the start of the fourth quarter, he plays them together. He just goes all in on the junior varsity, and they've been holding their own down the stretch of the season. And in these two-game series so far with the Nuggets, played very well. A very impressive group of guys who really wonderfully put together. Interior strength, ball handling, defense, shooting, just great pieces together. They give the Thunder great depth, and we've discovered a fallacy in the analysis of the Thunder Nuggets series, which is Denver was supposed to be the deeper team. Denver was this team that was supposed to have the more abundant good ball players. The opposite is true. Oklahoma City has the most good ball players in this series.
Yeah, we were sold a bill of goods, no doubt about it in that regard. Hey, you know what? If all of the Nuggets bench players actually played to their ability, they probably would have the deeper, more talented bench. But what you end up having is Al Harrington's fairly solid, but then you start looking at some of the other guys they're bringing off the bench. They are going to bring in a very talented point guard in Ray Felton, but after that, you've got Birdman and you've got J.R. Smith. And people in Oklahoma City know the risk-reward with those two guys. If they're playing well, they're going to give you something. But sometimes they're going to be completely out of their minds and completely out of the game. We saw it in Game 2 with J.R. Smith, Barry. He just got completely put out of the game. He got what he thought was fouled. He ends up sitting on the court for a long time. It just was not even a factor. When those guys don't come to play, it's like the Nuggets bench is basically two guys.
George Karl does not know what he's going to get from players like J.R. Smith. Think about that. Scotty Brooks, the Thunder coach, knows exactly what he's getting out of Eric Maynard. Maynard doesn't always score 12 points like he did in Game 1, but he always plays a solid floor game. Excellent last night, 5 assists off the bench. He always knows what he's getting out of Nick Collison. Nick is always going to play a good, solid floor game. He knows what he's getting out of James Harden. He knows what he's getting out of Nazr Mohammed. He knows what he's getting out of Daquan Cook. He just doesn't always know if the shot's going in, but he knows that Cook will run the floor, find a seam, get open in the corner, and get an open three-pointer. So he knows exactly what he's getting out of his guys. That's an invaluable trait for an NBA coach to have, to know and to be able to trust what's coming in off the bench. In this series, Scott Brooks can trust who he puts in the game off the bench. George Karl cannot.
Yeah, and you know what? Going into the series, I thought J.R. Smith might pose one of the biggest challenges for the Thunder because oftentimes he's going to be in the game when you do have that second wave of guys on the floor, and who matches up with him is a big question. J.R. Smith could still score 40 in Game 3 or 4 in Denver. I could still see that happening. He has that kind of sort of ease to his physical ability, but mentally it's just not there, and that becomes a real handicap for this Nuggets team. He was good down the stretch after the trade, but still very up and down. George Karl even saying in the final week of the regular season he just didn't know about J.R. Smith and how many minutes he'd have. How difficult a situation is that? Like I said, could go for 40, but he might only play 4 minutes in a game too. Hey, stay with the best coverage team anywhere. NewsOK.com and every day in the Oklahoma.